Hey y'all, welcome back to Mindful Corner.
We're so glad to be back, and we hope this episode is sort of an early Valentine's gift for you.
Today we'll discuss ways to mindfully be your own Valentine. Whether you're single or you're boot up, this episode really can apply to anyone. Being kind to yourself is super important and something many mental health issues can distort.
Okay, so self-love is something I've actually really had trouble with in the past because I always felt like it sounded cheesy and stupid, like, I'm supposed to love myself before I can love anyone else. But when I actually started, working on my mental health, it actually ended up being like one of the most essential things that I've had to carry through with my life. And I think me kind of brushing it off in the past it was me just avoiding it because I didn't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, oh, that's dumb. But really it was just, I didn't know how to do it. But loving yourself, I always want to preface and I always carry with myself, loving yourself isn't about being vain or
right.
Being,
I think that's a big thing that people misconstrue.
It's not about your looks. It kind of is, but it's more about forgiveness to me. Mm-hmm. If I have a bad day or I make a mistake or have an awkward moment, whatever, it's not something that I'm gonna carry with for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, whatever. It's something that I'm just okay, that happened, and I get to move on, and I forgive myself for that because we are all human beings. And I always kind of sometimes separate myself. If I was a different person and I made the same mistake that I just made, and or that person did, I wouldn't be hating that person because they made a mistake. That's crazy and weird. So why do we why did I hold that such a heavy expectation for myself when in reality it was a small mistake and that anyone could make, and that doesn't make you a bad person because you made a mistake. And I think self-love is kind of just the basis of that. Is you are a person that makes mistakes, and that's okay, and you can still love yourself.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean disregard your mistakes and think that everything you do is okay. Obviously you have to regard that the things you do are wrong, learn from it, but I think
you're not a bad person for it, and it's okay to make a mistake.
It's fine, you're chilling.
It's a human thing, and I feel we talk a lot about giving ourselves grace. Mm-hmm. If I have a bad day, if I'm depressed today and I want to stay in bed, that doesn't mean that you are defined by that. And I think that just act, giving yourself grace is an act of love. Right. And doing stuff like that. And then you can start to implement that kind of thing in your day-to-day life. I always also used to think that affirmations were dumb. But then 100%. I started using them, and it actually helped me so much to just write down. I had a big problem with asking for help. So I would literally just write down, it's okay to ask for help, on a piece of paper, and then put it in my car or put it on the mirror. And then I would see it every day, and I'd be I would just it would just kind of set me up for success.
Positive reinforcement.
To think of that good thing. And people aren't going to want to do it because it, I felt it was always awkward. They're standing in the mirror, staring in the mirror. Yeah. They're you are beautiful, you are strong. But if you don't believe that about yourself, but you repeat it every day, you will eventually believe that about yourself.
Right.
So what is your experience with that?
Yeah, so as someone with OCD, I think giving yourself grace can be especially difficult, and mine is a little bit different than Anna's, but it's still the same principle. I grew up in the faith, and for a long time, I wouldn't say I viewed self-love as something bad, but obviously humility is something that I really care about as a Christian. And just by the way, I'll always talk about my faith on this podcast. I feel I'm called to, and I feel that I have this platform, and I want to share what I believe. But anyways, going back, as someone with OCD and also being a Christian, it was self-love was just so difficult for me. And people get this misconception of it that self-love is, like Anna said, something is being vain, it's viewing yourself as above others. And I think that definition is not really what applies, at least for me. I think when applying self-love is just giving yourself grace again when you make mistakes, because I believe that God doesn't define you by your mistakes, and neither should I. Why should I let some slip up, some accidental thing that I said like defined me. With OCD, I'd say intrusive thoughts can make this really difficult. OCD, one of the biggest characteristics is intrusive thoughts that are really hard to let go of. Like they'll keep pushing, and the more you push them away, and the more you just like keep thinking about them, like they'll just keep coming back, and it's like this cycle. There's just this OCD cycle where the thought comes, you dwell on it for too long, and then it just begins like this cycle where you keep thinking about it and keep trying to rationalize, justify, keep trying to figure out what it means. And that's why self-love can be so hard, because when you do make a mistake, it's like that cycle starts over again every time. So when it comes to ways that I've dealt with this, I'd say this one is also kind of like, I heard it and I thought it was stupid. Like, I think I was literally asking ChatGPT for advice because I was that...
I've done that.
I was that,
No
like,
shame.
down bad. But it told me to, like, write a script of affirmations, or, like, just a script of things to tell myself in those moments when I'm feeling down about myself. When, for example, let's say I present in front of the class and I made a really embarrassing mistake, and to me it's a big deal, and obviously to everyone else, like, who cares? They're going to forget about it, like, tomorrow. But anyways, like... just writing a script to tell yourself, like, it's okay. People make these mistakes all the time. Like, this does not define you. Like, these moments do not define you. You're defined as a child of God. You are not, defined by your mistakes, by just your shortcomings, whatever it is. And writing that script and telling yourself those positive things during those times whenever you are feeling that guilt can be so powerful, like more powerful than you think. Just like Anna was saying, when you're passing by that mirror and you're looking at a positive affirmation, it seems dumb in the moment. Like the first time you're like, bro, like what is this? But as you keep reinforcing it, it's like every time you do get into that guilty, just like down mindset, you're going to think that thought. You're going to, positively reinforce yourself. And then, the guilt that was once there will go away. Mm-hmm. So that's, I'd say, one tip. Do you have any other practical tips?
I mean, I just want to talk more about the affirmation thing, because I think it's like, people think it's just like reassurance, but it does genuinely like rewire the way that you think. Because I've noticed, like, so I had like this whole therapy like journey, and then she was like, you don't have to come back anymore, because even though you still experience anxiety, you still experience depression, but like you've learned the tools to like cope with it, and now you have that like mindset to like be able to cope with it. Mm-hmm. And that's what affirmations do, is like every day you repeat this mantra, so it eventually becomes second nature, and you're not gonna not be anxious, you're not gonna not like feel guilty for making a mistake or whatever. But like, if you have these affirmations, it will rewire the way you think, and you'll be able to kind of like bring yourself back down to earth and be like, that makes sense. This is not me. Mm-hmm. But you still have the feeling. Like I want to say, like, I don't want to say that the affirmation like took away my anxiety or took away the guilt.
I think sometimes guilt is just like a false sensor. Like to me, like I'll just tell one of the affirmations, it's like, this is just an attack from the enemy. Like it's a lie. Mm-hmm. Like you have to tell yourself sometimes that the guilt is a lie, because like literally most of the time it is, and actually all of the time it is. Wait.
If you're able to like backtrack after and like have the affirmations, then you know that that's like not, you're not truly meant to feel guilty about this. And if you flip it around, you're like, what if someone else did this? Would you hate them for it?
Exactly.
If the answer is no, then why do you hate yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
That just doesn't make sense. So
I'd say we're not meant to live in guilt. We're meant to reflect, obviously, on the mistakes we make, and to realize that we've done wrong or that we've done something good. Like we can look at it and either acknowledge it, like be proud of ourselves, or obviously like acknowledge it as something that we did wrong, but not dwell on it. I think that's something that a lot of mental health issues can misconstrue, is that when you make a choice that you have to dwell on it. That's why sometimes decision making can be so hard, because you'll dwell on whatever decision you made, even if it's ultimately the right choice. With OCD, I'd say with affirmations, it's really difficult because I don't know if you're aware of this, but in OCD, one of the compulsions, like the OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. It's pretty obvious, but the compulsive part sometimes can be seeking out affirmations. And that's when it becomes tricky because yes, affirmations are good. It's good to, to give yourself grace and to love yourself, but sometimes you have to affirm yourself and not seek it out from other people. And
right, I was gonna say, what's like the balance? Is it like, because we talked about this on the last one a little bit of like getting outside feedback can sometimes like make your day better just because it's like a confirmation. So like, what do you think is the balance between like too many affirmations that confirm your compulsions, but also that are like gonna make you like rewire your brain and think positively?
Yeah, for me, it's just really situational. It's really just depends. Like, obviously, if I get a compliment, I'm not going to turn it away because, that's a compulsion. Like, no, it's different. It's when you're seeking it out purposefully to make yourself feel better about something you did. That's when it becomes tricky. That's something that a lot of people with OCD will do, especially, I can give an example. Like, let's say one of my big OCD themes, I'd say, and OCD, there's also themes, there's like things that you can kind of dwell on, like your intrusive thoughts can like all kind of fall under this category. So one of them can be like when I'm driving a car, I get like scared, like that I like possibly ran something over if I feel something on the road. So like if I'm driving in the car with someone, I'll like ask that person for affirmation, even though in my head, logically, I know that I did not run a human over. Like sometimes like intrusive thoughts can be so powerful, you truly believe that. And one of the first things I'll turn to is other people.
Mm-hmm. You need to find it from within yourself.
Yeah, but
like, you need to say to yourself,
right.
I did not run into another.
Right.
And that's like the affirmation.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't get the affirmation from another person. You get it from your own brain.
Yeah, there's obviously nothing fundamentally wrong with getting affirmations from other people, but when it comes to OCD specifically, if you have OCD and you're listening to this, it's kind of, you kind of have to keep that in mind. You have to keep in mind that you shouldn't be seeking out affirmations to like solve all your problems, because ultimately it just creates a cycle where every time you have a problem, you need affirmation or else you won't get over it.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna tell your brain, I can't deal with this.
Right.
That's what I told myself, and then that's when you have to reverse those habits and you have to start affirming yourself or just cutting off the situation there and then. One of the most effective ways of dealing with OCD is just when an intrusive thought comes, instead of dwelling on it, thinking about it, or just like trying to rationalize, figure out what it means, just literally cut it off. And the first time I did it, it was so incredibly scary because it's like you could have the worst intrusive thought ever, and to cut it off there and like to not even deal with it is so scary because it's like, but that's like
a thought from my brain. Why can't I validate it?
Yeah, but it's like your thoughts don't define you, and that's one of the things I really want to emphasize here is that your thoughts don't define you. It's your kindness, it's your character that defines you, and like that, those are the things that come from within, not the random intrusive thoughts you get. So if you have OCD or really any other mental disorder, can like really
because I was gonna say
this.
Like I think sometimes when I get into like depressing kind of states, I also kind of have a similar like thought patterns of like it's more like I'm not good enough type thoughts,
right?
But that also, another thing is like with affirmations is I also like affirm like where I am now in life. If I get really depressed, sometimes I need to take a step back and be like, well, you're in college, you like look at your grades, look at this. I know that stuff doesn't define you, but it is evidence of like hard work.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Like a good character trait is like you have friends, you have this.
Right.
So like being grateful, I guess, for that, and realizing that like if the things that you told yourself weren't true, you probably wouldn't have this life. I probably wouldn't have this podcast because I wouldn't think I was good enough to record what I say and start up my own club. Like, if I let that thought in my brain win, I don't know where I'd be. That's you know what I'm saying?
So true. You can't let those thoughts win.
Look around you and just be like, this is my life, and if I wasn't deserving of it, I wouldn't have it. You have it because you deserve it, you know? And, like, that's obviously, like, there's exceptions to that. Like, you know, Nepo babies or whatever. But for the most part, I feel like if you got there with honesty, you deserve everything you get. Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't feel guilty I used to have a problem with feeling guilty for, like, when people would compliment me or, like, if I got like an award or something, I'd be like, well, there's other people that I always downplay my success, but I'm trying to not do that anymore because I did work hard for it, and that is an accomplishment within itself. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's like an example of an affirmation. It's like if you get an award or something and you think to yourself, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, yes, it is. Mm-hmm. If it made you feel happy, then it is a big deal. Yeah. You shouldn't be like, I don't deserve this because it's just this, it's just that. Like I literally did that yesterday.
Again, it's like its own form of rationalizing and trying to justify what it means. It's like, I really think all these like mental health disorders really like tie in. I hear some of my friends that, I mean, they don't specifically have OCD, but their thought patterns are so similar to mine. Maybe they have anxiety, maybe like they don't have anything at all, but this is such a like similar pattern that occurs in so many people. So honestly, I was at first like saying like, if you have OCD, listen to this, but honestly I would just say, and this could really apply to anyone,
I think everyone,
because I feel like
has intrusive thoughts.
I'd say intrusive thoughts are something that everyone deals with OCD. It's kind of like they get fired at you, like it's like a machine gun firing like the intrusive thoughts at you. It's first it's a frequency, but I think everyone at some point in their life has had a thought that was kind of weird, and like maybe you felt guilty about it, and I think the same logic can be applied. And especially to decision making too, which we plan to do an episode on in the future on, you know, making decisions, especially in such a big period like college where things are changing and that, you know, you're making decisions for the future that are like seemingly important, but at the end of the day, it's like ultimately what works out will be, you know, God's will. Like it's so.
I know. I always, with decision making, I always try to. I know we're going to touch on this later, but I always try, and this is another thing with self-love, is like, you know yourself the best, and like, if you like know deep down that a decision is the right one, then it is the right one. Like, you don't have to justify that to anyone else, because like, you know yourself the best, and if you like are leading with love and like grace and all that stuff we talked about earlier, then I think you will ultimately make the right decision. Like, even if it doesn't, if it like will be hard for a while, but I think it'll work out in the end. I think if you trust yourself, it will work out in the end, because a lot of people make decisions that they think are right, but they are doing it because of like society or another outside factor, and they end up just not following through with it because it's not serving them. And I think if something doesn't serve you, then you gotta let it go. And that's another thing is like with self-love, is like sometimes tough love, like you gotta like cut things out that aren't serving you. Like, just like with the intrusive thoughts, like, if it's not serving you, just let it go. Remember that girl that would organize closets, and she'd be like, if it doesn't bring you joy, like, throw it away.
Really? Is that only
Marie Kondo?
That's so
Do you guys know? Okay, for the people listening, there's some production team members listening in on our episode, but she would basically say, like, you'd go through their house and they'd be like, does this item spark joy? And then if the answer is no, just like, get rid of it.
That's so true. I mean, and honestly, it's like cut out those things that are just like bringing you harm and bringing you negativity. And that's something that I've learned, especially as I have like personally developed my relationship with God. Like, I have engaged in a lot of prayer, and prayer has really like opened my eyes up to like what is bad in my life and what is like what is something that's fruitful. And I think that's like for me with decision making, prayer is like one of the first things I go to. So we hope this episode does bring you guys some sort of encouragement. It's obviously hard. It's like not going to be perfect the first time when you're trying to fight the intrusive thoughts, or you're trying to show yourself some grace, whatever you take away from this. But over time, as you keep positively reinforcing yourself, it's going to become a habit. I'm still on my mental health journey, so is Anna.
Yeah,
I think everyone...
I don't think they ever end, to be honest.
I actually learned from my therapist that they do. So this time, if you do have OCD can be, you know, treated. Like, it's not like these things aren't treatable.
It can't be treated. I'm just saying that it's something that you always are working on, and eventually it will become second nature.
I agree. I think you're always going to have highs and lows.
Yeah,
and
there are situations that might spark things throughout your life, but as you go forth with any like tip, like the affirmations, journaling, anything you do, like, what if you put that into practice and you find that it's really serving you, like, you won't notice it anymore. Like, not that
over time you'll just be trained.
You might know that I might be susceptible to like a certain type of thought, but you're not as sensitive to it, and you might not like experience the symptoms anymore because you've learned,
for sure.
Like, the thought process. That's what I mean by it's never over. It's like, you know that you're like, I know that I will always be susceptible to feeling like I'm not good enough, I'm not this. But if I keep working at it, I know that eventually I won't notice that anymore. Like, it might be like really small.
I
in the
see
back
what
of my
you're
head,
saying,
but it's
yeah.
like
But it's so drowned out by all the
it's drowned out by the
positivity.
actual work that I've done to
Yeah.
get to that point.
Yeah.
So just remember, like, everything's gonna be okay. I always say that, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
So please continue to be kind to yourself and enjoy your Valentine's Day weekend, however it's spent.
Yes, see you next time.